So how was it when you were raped, and what were you wearing?
Fran thought no one would ever find out about what happened that night. But then the media exposed everything.
What happened to you and your husband?
I was raped at gunpoint in my own home.
They put a gun to my head.
And they made Peter watch.
One of these tabloids reopened it up.
It was like a perfect storm.
Howard Stern pushed Fran too far.
Husbands are traumatized by this too.
Oh, I would be. Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm not adequate. How long before that beautiful body was being used again?
I'm getting sick just listening to you say it.
I would do nice things to you. Let me tell you, all you'd have to do is lay back on the bed and let me get to work. You would love it.
We had made plans with a girlfriend of ours to go home to my house. And she was planning her wedding. We were going to talk about things like that over dinner.
All of a sudden, we heard this huge bang. And two guys with guns came running in.
And I really had like a primal scream. It was like every cell in my body screamed all at once in literal horror.
And they took us up to the bedroom and they tied me up. And they put a gun to my head. And I thought, this is it.
Everybody had been gagged but me. So I was talking to him the whole time. I managed to really memorize the features of the man that was actually the rapist. I didn't know if we were going to come out of this alive. And I just wondered who was going to be the first to go and who was going to have to sit there and endure seeing their loved ones get killed before they get killed.
We received the phone call from Franny crying out that two men had broken in and had raped her and Judy at gunpoint, and they made Peter watch.
I wish I could have done more. But maybe if I did done more, we wouldn't have lived.
It took you 10 years to publicly speak about what happened, right? Why did it take so long?
It wasn't like anybody was that interested in the life and times of Fran Drescher, not until the Nanny. When the show was a success, there was one of those tabloid shows on TV.
These tabloids reopened it up and connected me to the rapist. They went to the prison and they talked to him, and it was terrible.
This incident occurred a decade earlier, but seeing it on television caused me to experience tremendous post-traumatic stress.
I was talking to Robin earlier this morning. I said, hey, Fran Drescher's coming in, the Nanny. And I said to her, I read in People magazine that she was, the victim of a violent crime. Fran was raped. How long before that beautiful body was being used again? Probably for years you wouldn't even use it.
Oh, no. And for me, who really didn't allow myself to live it in the first place, I then started sort of dealing with it all over again.
Let me ask you this. Is the perpetrator in this room?
No,
Gentlemen.
he's been incarcerated 114 years.
Oh, no kidding. He must have gotten a lot of people.
Yes, there were two busloads of witnesses, but
Oh,
It was a
boy.
group?
brothers.
How did the cops catch these guys?
Well, I must say that I have a photographic memory, and I was watching TV just that week. They were saying if you're in a situation, it's really important that you get the details, the features. Very important.
But these guys let you see them?
Get so scared they don't consciously try and be aware of that.
And I remembered that interview that very night when we were held hostage at gunpoint. And so I managed to really memorize the features of the man that was actually the rapist. I ended up helping the police do the the artist's sketch. And based off of that, they were able to apprehend him.
So when they stopped him just before he got onto the freeway, he had a pocket full of jewelry and his fly was unzipped.
Fran Drescher's attacker may be behind bars, but her fight isn't over yet.
I was very victimized right at that point because a paparazzi was camped down in front of my house and photographed me in a way that really depicted where the block that I lived on, and consequently, drew a roadmap for a twice convicted sex offender to start stalking me.
I just sort of picked myself up, dusted myself off, and pushed my feelings out of the way. But of course, I now know that they don't really go anywhere but deep inside. I remember once I was in a restaurant, and I think it was a busboy or a server dropped a tray, and it made a loud crashing noise, which obviously everyone in the restaurant noticed, but I leaped to my feet and screamed because the pain was so close to the surface.
My husband went into therapy because he seemed more obviously affected by it. I noticed that it was difficult for him. He wasn't speaking, like he was just really quiet. I was still in my I'm the superwoman mode. So I felt like I can handle this, but we should seek help for him.
We would fight constantly, and it got really bad. But I became very, very controlling with her. I didn't deal with anything about me, but what she wore, what she ate, her weight, who she'd be with, everything. I wanted to control every aspect of that show and her.
So I left, and it was very tough, and he didn't want it. And we had at least another year of the nanny to do together while he wasn't speaking to me. We were separated for like the last 2 years of the series. And after the series ended and we actually filed, he moved to New York. He couldn't get far enough away from me. He was very angry. I felt guilty that I left him because I'd never really done anything like that for myself at the expense of someone else. I totally lived for everyone else's happiness. Pain will find its way in your body if you don't let it out. And my problem back then was that I didn't really explore the depths of despair that I was in. It was like a perfect storm. I wasn't feeling well. The marriage was, busted apart. And I was just very unhappy. And I decided, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna make something out of this. I thought, I'm not gonna handle this pain like I did the last one. And I really have to approach it from a different point of view by means of feeling my fear, feeling my pain, asking for help, being vulnerable, all of that I was unable to do after the breaking. I think that the idea of talking about something takes the curse off it. So I'm talking. I was a victim of a violent crime, and I spoke very candidly about that so that people could see that if she could survive, maybe I could find the courage to do it as well. Everybody goes through things in their life, and there are silver linings. That was one of the things that rejoined Peter and I. I think that because we had met when we were 15 and became very codependent, then I think we both didn't know ourselves as well. We're very different people now because we've gained insight to ourselves.
And it was after you divorced that he came out as gay, as I understand it, right?
Yes.
I had always known that I was attracted to guys, but I was also attracted to her.
I mean, the good thing is that we've learned how to reinvent our love and friendship for each other in a way that suits us far better now.
You have said that your life has been about turning negatives into positives.
Transformed by her own experience, Fran has gone on to transform the lives of so many others.
Fran was
unstoppable.
Think about how many people you saved.
You have to try and turn your pain into purpose. So this has really become my life mission.